In today's story, I'll share a chilling experience that changed my life forever. This is a tale about an unsettling presence that followed me everywhere I went. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be captivated by the mysterious shadow. The first time I noticed it, I was walking home from work. It was late, and the streets were unusually quiet. The dim streetlights cast long shadows on the pavement. But there was one shadow that seemed out of place. It didn't belong to any object or person around me. I quickened my pace, feeling a shiver run down my spine. For days, I tried to dismiss it as a trick of the light or an overactive imagination, but the shadow persisted, lurking at the edge of my vision. Whether I was at home, in my office, or out with friends, I felt its presence. It was always there, a dark silhouette that seemed to move with a will of its own. One night, as I lay in bed, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. I opened my eyes and saw the shadow standing at the foot of my bed. It was more defined than ever. A tall, dark figure with no discernible features. I couldn't move, paralyzed by fear. The shadow didn't move either. It just stood there, watching. I started researching, desperate for answers. I read about shadow people, spirits, and other paranormal phenomena. Some said these entities were harmless, mere observers. Others believed they were malevolent beings feeding off fear. I didn't know what to believe, but I knew I had to find a way to rid myself of this shadow. I sought help from a psychic who claimed to communicate with spirits. She told me the shadow was attached to me, drawn by some unresolved trauma or fear. She performed a cleansing ritual, but the shadow remained. Weeks turned into months, and my life became a constant battle against the fear that the shadow instilled in me. I barely slept, and my work suffered. My friends and family noticed the change in me, but I couldn't tell them the truth. Who would believe me? One evening, as I was leaving my office, I saw the shadow waiting for me in the parking lot. I couldn't take it anymore. I yelled at it, demanding to know what it wanted from me. To my surprise, it began to move, not away from me, but toward me. I felt a cold, suffocating presence envelop me, and I blacked out. When I came to, I was lying on the ground, the shadow nowhere to be seen. I felt different, lighter somehow. For the first time in months, I didn't sense its presence. I hoped it was finally over. But the peace was short-lived. A week later, I saw the shadow again, this time more aggressive. It would appear in mirrors, windows, and any reflective surface. Always watching, always waiting. The sense of dread returned, stronger than ever. I decided to confront it once and for all. I set up cameras around my house, hoping to capture evidence of its existence. The footage showed nothing unusual, no signs of the shadow. It was as if it knew I was trying to catch it and stayed hidden. Desperation led me to seek out more extreme measures. I consulted with experts in paranormal activity, exorcists, and even skeptics who offered logical explanations. Nothing worked. The shadow seemed to thrive on my fear and desperation. One night, during a particularly severe encounter, I decided to face the shadow without fear. I stood my ground, refusing to let it intimidate me. As it approached, I felt an intense coldness, but I didn't back down. I told it I was not afraid and that it had no power over me. To my astonishment, the shadow began to fade. It slowly dissolved into the darkness, leaving me standing alone in my room. The air felt lighter, and I knew, deep down, that I had finally overcome it. From that night on, I never saw the shadow again. My life gradually returned to normal, and I regained my sense of peace. The experience left me with a deeper understanding of fear and the power it holds over us. I learned that facing our fears head-on is the only way to conquer them. Years passed, and I gradually put the experience behind me. I moved to a new city, started a new job, and built a life that no longer revolved around fear. I even met someone special, and we began to plan a future together. The shadow became a distant memory, a story I rarely shared. However, one evening, as we were preparing dinner, a familiar chill ran down my spine. I glanced at the window and saw it, the shadow. It was faint, barely noticeable, but it was there. My heart raced as old fears surged back to the surface. My partner noticed my sudden change in demeanor and asked if everything was all right. I hesitated, but decided to tell them everything. To my surprise, they believed me and offered their support. Determined not to let the shadow control my life again, we decided to confront it together. We researched and sought help from a renowned paranormal investigator. He listened to my story with a mix of skepticism and curiosity, but agreed to help. The investigator set up equipment throughout our home, and we waited. Days turned into weeks with no sign of the shadow. I started to doubt myself. wondering if it was all in my head. But then, one night, the shadow reappeared, clearer and more menacing than ever. The investigators' equipment captured its presence, confirming it was real. With concrete evidence, we delved deeper into the mystery. The investigator discovered that the shadow was tied to a traumatic event from my past that I had suppressed. It was a manifestation of unresolved guilt and fear. Together, we worked to confront these buried emotions, using therapy and meditation to heal the wounds. The process was long and painful, but gradually, the shadow began to lose its power. Each time it appeared, it was weaker, less defined. I learned to face my fears without running away, and with each confrontation, I grew stronger. One final night, we performed a ritual to sever the connection between me and the shadow. Surrounded by friends and loved ones, we chanted words of power and protection. The air grew cold, and the shadow materialized, fighting to maintain its hold on me. But this time, I wasn't alone. Together, we stood firm, banishing it with our collective strength. The shadow dissipated, leaving behind a sense of calm and closure. I knew it was gone for good. The experience left me changed, but not broken. I emerged stronger, with a newfound appreciation for life and the people who supported me. As I share this story with you, I hope it serves as a reminder that we all have shadows in our lives, be they literal or metaphorical, but with courage, support, and determination, we can face them and emerge victorious. Thank you for listening to my journey.